Thanks for being on with us for another live stream. Thanks for tuning in. Buffered vitamin C ascorbates. Why is vitamin C so critical to human health and physiology? It is involved in hundreds of different chemical reactions in your bodies. Everything from a woman's hormones to how you detoxify and offload heavy metals and chemicals, to how you make glutathione, how you make something called D-glucaric acid, which is actually a detoxifying agent for your own hormones that have to be broken down and eliminated, and even environmental types of hormones. What about your skin? What about how you make collagen? What about your bones? What about your connective tissue, ligaments, tendons? We've got some good stuff, some good information for you to, I think, have a great take-home message so that you're not bamboozled. You're not, I'm going to use a couple words here about integrity and kindness, and I would hope that everything that we do is with integrity here. I use a ton of the buffered C ascorbates. It is critically important. And I'll explain to you even how, for example, in the animal kingdom, there's only two animals, rhesus monkeys and something else, I can't even remember what it is, that cannot make C. Do you realize that literally, virtually the entire animal kingdom they can synthesize in their livers ascorbates? And the literature shows, scientific study shows that the more duress that they're under, the higher the level of stress that they are under, that literally they make more ascorbate depending upon their level of stress. Shrill sounds, bright lights, loud noises, in a cage over an extended period of time, measure their ascorbate levels before, measure them after, they're making 5 to 8 times the amount. It's actually documented that they are making, under high levels of duress, as much as what would be equivalent in a human's body of 15, 17 grams of vitamin C ascorbates. So now, does that mean that this is the only option for you from a nutrient standpoint? No, I just want you to understand the importance and how it can help you physiologically. Well, how come we didn't need that much before? I really don't know. I know we're exposed to a lot. We eat a lot of foods that are acidifying. We are cellularly damaged in many ways. We're not generating the cellular energy that we need to be generating. So raising your vitamin C ascorbate levels in your body in the right forms is critical. Fully reduced, fully buffered, corn-free. I mean, the right forms, a purified form, has a huge, huge, huge benefit on human health and physiology. I want you to make sure that if you have some time, go and take a look at some of our other live streams. Over the next couple of weeks, the whole process of how you view will become even easier. Right where that live stream button is, you'll be able to hit that. You won't have to even create an account or anything. It's going to become a lot easier for you to view the live streams in the future. We have a bank of them. We have literally about 6 months worth of live streams for you to view. If you have a family member with bone health issues, osteoporosis, we have a live stream. If you have a family member that's battling digestive disturbances, upper or lower, we have live streams for that. You name it, and we're going to do more. An upcoming one will be leaky gut syndrome. What does that really mean? Does it really exist? Can it impact human health and physiology? That's next. Stay tuned for the next live stream with that. Today, the ascorbates. But before we get to that, I'm going to a little something, as I typically do, that we discussed and talked about right on the radio show this morning. I'm going to read you two scriptures out of the Proverbs. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. The integrity of the upright guides them. So I would like to believe that we are considered, you're trusting God, you're following God, you have a heart after the things of God, hopefully. We want to walk in integrity. And the upright are literally those, not that you are perfect in physical stature and functioning, or you are perfect or mature or righteous in and of yourself. It is His righteousness. But that your desire is to continually walk uprightly, to walk in integrity. And this is a key word, the integrity of the upright. So I pulled some background. Integrity, a quality or state of being of sound moral principle, sincerity, and honesty. a state of being complete, undivided, and I think that's a key word. The book of James says that we're not to be double-minded, that we literally are to have a singleness of our thought, not wavering, of wholeness. Two key words, wholeness and being undivided. A state of being sound / undamaged. All right, key word. And I would hope that you and I would continue in our walks to learn to walk with integrity and also uprightness. Those who are kind benefit themselves, but the cruel bring ruin on themselves. Those who are kind benefit themselves. So are you kind to someone just to receive something from them? I hope not. See, if you walk in a state of kindness, being kind, showing generosity, showing the love of God, I believe that it comes back to you beneficially many times in many ways over. Kindness, to be compassionate, to be generous, to be of a warm nature. Showing compassion. So not just to be compassionate, but displaying that compassion, being agreeable and not harsh. So what's the Bible saying? As we show compassion, as we show a warmth of our nature, a generosity, these are all characteristics of Christ. These are all fruits, if you will, of the Spirit. If we show a generosity, a compassion, that we are agreeable, it doesn't mean you have to be a doormat and be stepped on, which is not true. You should confront that. But that you're not antagonistic. You're not looking to be disagreeable, to be in a fighting mindset for no reason other than just that you want to argue and you want to be disagreeable. Not harsh. Not harsh. I would hope that you be encouraged. The kind-hearted woman gains honor, but ruthless men gain only wealth. Those who are kind benefit themselves, but the cruel bring ruin upon themselves. So let's look at this. Let's be kind. The Bible says that you'll gain honor. Number 2, you'll benefit from being kind. God will see to it that you are benefited from it. If you walk in integrity, the Bible says that it literally will guide you. I hope you received something from that today. I know I did, and I hope you're blessed by it. So we're having a little technical problem, but we're going to deal with it in a couple of minutes. We're going to have our little, what's that thing called? Our little board, our little easel, marker board in a few minutes. We've had some difficulties getting that into the office here, but we should have it hopefully in about 10 to 15 minutes. So when we go to a break, I'll have some things written up there for you. So let's talk about it. Vitamin C. Why buffered C ascorbates? Well, first of all, buffered means that it's pH neutral. So you don't want to put vitamin C that is straight ascorbic acid because that acidifies your system. And I don't think we should ever do anything that acidifies our system. We do enough bad things that acidify the system. We drink sodas. We drink, you should try not to. Many of you still drink sodas. You drink too much caffeine. You eat too many foods that make your body very acidic. You don't have enough minerals that buffer you. So if you put an ascorbic acid into you that is highly acidic, sometimes there's digestive disturbances. It's not nearly as utilizable at a cellular level, and it doesn't stay in the body as long as when it's the ascorbate form. It's got to be fully reduced, has to be fully buffered. Now, what are some of the areas that we know that buffered C ascorbates benefit your health in? What are some of the areas? Number 1, hormone biosynthesis. Men and women, especially women, but men and women. Buffered vitamin C helps you to make your hormones. Number 2, it encourages dopamine production. You realize there's some scientific literature that shows that folks with schizophrenia, folks that are in hospital settings with psychiatric disturbances, have very, very low ascorbate levels. Now, scientists would argue, is that a result of their mental illness? I propose that we should be looking at how do we raise their ascorbate levels to hopefully prevent it. What we do know is that vitamin C, ascorbates, are involved in the conversion of many of your brain neurotransmitters, in particular dopamine, so that you can make more dopamine in your brain. When you have more adequate levels of dopamine, you're not as compulsive. You're not as prone to addictions. Your thought process is more cohesive. Your focus is better. Your sense of well-being and your mood is better as well. Hormone biosynthesis, neurotransmitter, brain biosynthesis. Let's talk about connective tissue and your bones and your capillaries. We know that the ascorbates are involved in helping you to make collagen. Now, collagen is critical to capillary beds, to your tiny little vessels, the vasculature, the vessel walls. We know that collagen is critical because it is the basement membrane. It underlies your epidermal and dermal layers, so that it is critical to skin health and maintaining a more youthful skin appearance, and also reducing the amount of sagging of your skin. Why? Because there's a collagen matrix. On top of that are your dermal and epidermal layers. You have a media that is in there, but just for, we've done some skin teachings as well. But just for sake of argument here, to maintain collagen matrix, it helps your skin. It's a precursor to make sure that you make bone tissue well. You need collagen first before you can start laying down the other synergistic nutrients to make your bones. We know that it is involved in tendon and ligament manufacture and even repair. So literally, many of your structural components are greatly, greatly enhanced by buffered vitamin C. How about your teeth? How about your teeth? Are your teeth involved in this process? Do the buffered C ascorbates manage and help your teeth? Most certainly it does, in enamel formation and the structural components. So even while you're gestating, and while you're carrying a child, during pregnancy, even when your children are young, we need to have them on some C. The ascorbates are important in not only their bone structure, their ligament and tendon structure, but also their bones as well. So we covered some basic areas. That's just a smattering. So when I opened, I said that there are hundreds of activities in your system that your body utilizes C. Reactions take place, the chemistry, the biochemistry of the body, how you actually make structural components, critically linked. But we can't even cover in this setting, and I don't want to bore you with that. I think the main theme here is, when I talk about buffered C ascorbates, you need to know that it's not like it just does one thing or two or three things. It is involved in your biochemistry, literally all the way down to a cellular level, even down to a subcellular level, which I will cover in the second part of this. Now, what do I mean by subcellular level? Literally, at where you generate energy in your mitochondria, all the way to where we can actually, if you look at the literature, it's believed to even be involved in how you make ATP, adenine ATP. It is involved in how your body generates energy at a cellular level. Critically important. And why that it is critical even for folks with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. Not only does it have immune boosting capabilities, but it can raise your cellular energetics by donating electrons. Now this really gets into chemistry, and I really want to go there. But I can't just stand up here and just tell you, well, buffered vitamin C is good for you, just take it. I think you have to have some level of understanding that it affects not only how your brain makes brain neurotransmitters, how your hormones are made in the body physiologically, how you structurally are making bone, ligament, tendons, how I'm making enough collagen for skin health. That's just to name a few. But literally at a subcellular level where we generate energy. See, we have a tendency to think, oh, I need some energy, so I'll drink caffeine. Or I will do something that, stimulates my body. Well, that causes a rise of norepinephrine and epinephrine production from the adrenals, and you get this surge, this blast of energy, and the energy coming from the caffeine, because it's a stimulant, it heightens your awareness, your alertness. It is driving you. It is revving up your engine. Do you realize that literally buffered C ascorbates, vitamin C, can help your epinephrine and norepinephrine production, which has everything to do with energy as well. Your adrenal glands, your adrenals are the adaptive organ, how you get through stress, how you get through duress, how your body adapts and copes, how your body has enough energy to fight through. That buffered vitamin C helps with cortisol, norepinephrine, epinephrine production, that literally, that the ascorbates help your adrenal glands be more adaptive as well. I hope you're getting something out of this. Each and every Saturday for probably almost the last 7 months, actually over 7 months, literally just about every Saturday morning, we have taken time here, Josiah and myself, to literally provide some teaching for you that helps you. I would hope that you encourage others to go and to view these live streams. I mentioned at the opening, we've got them on literally as many different topics as every week we kind of just think of another topic. What should I discuss? What should we talk about? I can back up every single piece of information that I talk about on these live streams. So make sure that you take a look at the website, the past ones, everything from the exercise routine. We've got a lot of ideas. If you have some ideas and you'd like to share them with us, send us an email. If you have some recommendations, if it's within reason, certainly. If it's not too narrow, we've even done them on pregnancy and what are some of the components. What should gestating moms be concerned with? Should they have fears of doing supplementation? What supplements should they be doing during pregnancy? Which ones they shouldn't be doing? Should you have a B12 level and a vitamin D level, a 25 OHD? We have all of that available. We've got them titled, and over the next couple of weeks, it'll become even easier to view the live streams. Okay, let's talk about a couple other things before we go to a quick break, and we're going to get our little board in here, hopefully. But what are some of the other areas that we need to talk about? And I think the one key area to me is, does it vary? Do the demands vary? Meaning, are there different states of health, even not only in blocks of time in our life, but even on a daily basis, that I would have a greater demand for vitamin C? No question about it, yes. When I'm in a state of ill health, I'm not feeling well, I'm not functioning well, my body has been under attack, I've come off of a serious viral attack or bacterial infection, or I have been under a lot of duress, I've not been sleeping as well, or Lyme's disease, folks that have rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue, as mentioned earlier, fibromyalgia. When you're in a state of ill health, the ascorbate levels have been documented to drop. Folks that are in hospital settings, in intensive care units where they are burn patients. Now, there are a lot of issues there, zinc and glutamine and amino acids and protein. But their ascorbate levels become incredibly depleted. Excuse me. Your ascorbate levels, as they're depleted, are then not able to be used for more repair, synthesis and repair. So literally, I would say that now some viewing this might say, well, this is a big leap of faith and a jump. But if you take that basic piece of information, then in a state of ill health, that your ascorbate levels versus those that are in pretty good health are dramatically and variantly different. Those that are in good health have typically higher cellular levels of ascorbates versus those that are not. Why not work at daily maintaining that level so that you generate cellular energy, so that you do the work of repair, that you make your hormones better, that you make your neurotransmitters better? It makes sense. Does it vary depending upon your state of health? Yes. Does it vary and depend upon your level of duress and stress? Absolutely yes. The more stress that you're under, the greater the need for ascorbates. Thirdly, when you go beyond those two areas, what about your level of exposures, chemicals, metals, heavy metals, toxic exposures? Without question, the more chemicals you're exposed to. If you smoke, you create free radical damage. It's documented that C levels drop dramatically in smokers. If you smoke, even if you smoke 10 cigarettes a day and you're trying to boot that habit, that's great. It's not good for you. And I smoke an occasional cigar, maybe once every 2 weeks or once a week occasion. That's not a good thing. I know that. I'm not ignorant to that fact. But I do occasionally. I kind of like the taste of it. I have a cup of coffee a day. I don't think that's the end of the world. I have an occasional cigar. I don't smoke cigars on a daily basis. I don't smoke cigarettes on a daily basis. For those of you that do, you are inflicting a tremendous amount of what we call free radical damage. If you work around chemicals, you're inflicting a tremendous amount of free radical damage. Maybe you clean houses for a living. Maybe your life's work is where you work around some type of chemicals that you're being indirectly and sometimes directly exposed to. You might work in a plant. When you are ingesting, whether through your skin, via inhalation, or ingesting orally, you are at greater risk for lowering your ascorbate levels. Why? Because the ascorbates are trying to help you make alpha-lipoic acid, which it does, it recycles it, deglucarates, which helps you detoxify. It helps to raise and make glutathione. That's a God-given intracellular detoxifying agent. So the ascorbates are helping you to make these pathways, or it is, shall I say, not make them, they're made by God, literally. It is involved in aiding those pathways to maintain a level of competence to help keep the chemicals shed from you. Now you might say, well, geez, that sounds a little bit like you're extrapolating some thought and information. I'm not. Listen to this. It's documented, it's been proven, that those that have higher circulating blood levels of ascorbates, vitamin C, remember it's vitamin C that's pH neutral, bound to minerals, ascorbates, that your levels of heavy metals, in particular lead's been studied, is lower. The lower the levels of the ascorbates, the higher the circulating levels of lead. The higher the circulating levels of ascorbates, the lower the circulating levels of lead, a heavy metal. Heavy metals are hugely damaging to human health and physiology. Damage the immune system, damage your circulatory system, damage your energy producing units at that cellular level, the ability of your mitochondria to generate energy. I think many folks with chronic fatigue and fibro, there are a lot of issues there. Poor sleep, food allergies, leaky gut, poor brain neurosynthesis of hormones, low T3 and thyroid issues. But I'll tell you at a cellular level what the problem is. I believe many of these individuals have significant body burdens of chemicals. Their bodies have been overrun. They're not able to detoxify them well. Metals fall into this, heavy metals, and it diminishes cellular energy production. Ascorbates, remember, 3 vehicles, and they're ones that I really didn't even quote unquote have time to prepare for. These are pretty much off the top of the head here. Deglucarate pathways, glutathione pathways, recycles alpha-lipoic acid, which is a powerful detoxifying agent. So understand this. It's not that the buffered C ascorbates just go into the body and just eliminate these toxins or eliminates them. No, it helps the pathways. It facilitates the body's biochemistry so that then those pathways that do that work for you have been supported and facilitated. And remember, it varies. It depends upon your need. The more your exposures, the greater your demand. The more stress you're under, the greater your demand. The greater the state of ill health for whatever reason, it might be a chronic issue, you might have chronic pain, the greater your need. You might have an autoimmune condition, the greater your need. You could be in a hospital setting, you could have been, God forbid, in a significant accident, or there's trauma to your body, greater need. You're under a lot of stress, greater need. You're exposed to chemicals, greater need. Does that make sense? It varies on the individual. We have to get out of this mindset that one's good for all. So we wrote a little blog post yesterday, and my daughter put it up. She said, so what dose should I recommend? She goes, well, I know you're going to say to, like, do an ascorbate flush and see what your body's demands are, or to bowel tolerance, because that's an indicator. Bowel tolerance means that's when your body's saying, okay, I don't need any more, and it's just blowing right through you, and you have a loose stool, loose bowel movement. She says, I know you're going to say that, but we've got to give them some. I said, I know. So let's go with a couple grams a day, 1,000 milligrams in the morning, 1,000 milligrams in the afternoon, 1,000 milligrams at bedtime. At a minimum, you should be doing 3 grams a day at a minimum. At a minimum. And really more, depending on, you say, I don't know, well, how do I know what my demands are? Well, then you should do a buffered C flush. And we have some information on the site as to how to do that. So I can't tell you what you should be doing versus what I do. A ton of it. Because I've had a lot of chemical exposures in my past, painting homes, getting through college, lead exposures, heavy metal exposures, gasoline, solvents, turpentine. I literally almost used to bathe in the stuff. I mean, literally. So my mindset is always, I've got to be raising my... You say, wait a minute, but that was like, you're like 50-some years old. How long? Yeah, that was a long time ago. 18 through basically almost 24 years of age, that's pretty much what I did. Actually, younger. I started about 15 to 16. I've had a lot of those chemical exposures. So my mindset is always upregulating. Why? Because we hold on to those things. I didn't know anything about it. I would be out painting a home with no shirt on, getting lead-based paints on me. At the end of the day, I'd wipe down with gasoline or turpentine or linseed oil, whatever I had available. Go sit in my car, unair-conditioned, old 63 Chevy, drive home, put my stuff in the trunk, literally sweating in the car, literally just massively absorbing that junk that was on my body. Hey, I was 19, 20, 21, 20, what did I know? 23. I was getting through school. What did I know? Many of us have the same types of exposures, and we weren't aware of them. Many of you have them right now, and you're not aware of them. So I hope this is making some sense. I think we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to wrap this thing up. I'm just going to say, let's just go to the break. Josiah's going to take us. Be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned. Enjoy this. We'll be right back. All right. Thanks for being with us. Hope you enjoy that. I just love that worship song, and I just hope you enjoy these live streams. Hey, Lord willing, I'm just going to keep firing away until we run out of topics, and maybe we'll go back and we'll redo them, and we'll do them better, hopefully. But our heart is, so I don't know which camera I'm on right now. We just like improved our technology. We've got some cameras. We're doing double shots. I mean, so hopefully, we weren't having too much fun about 45 minutes ago because we didn't have my trusty little board. I wasn't happy. I was losing some of my integrity that I talked about earlier. And I was losing some of my uprightness that I was talking about before. But through all those things, and literally I just stopped for a moment, and I thought, I just prayed and said, it's not that big of a deal. It could be a lot worse. Praise God. I'll just do it standing here, right? So I got my board back. We need to be careful of losing our uprightness and losing our integrity, but hopefully you're enjoying these. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, I went through and just kind of named through the processes with the ascorbates. I tell you, the chemicals. You getting an aroma? You can smell the chemicals just from these bold color dry erase. Oh my goodness, they're terrible. So I don't know which camera I'm on right now, but we'll learn. We'll get this. But I thought the ascorbates, the processes that they're involved, what it's involved in your body. Do the demands vary? And that is without question a big yes. Now I'm going to talk about just 2 things quickly. It's actually, there's literature showing that it can modify gene expression. Okay? Number 2, now this gets really into chemistry, but it's shown that the ascorbates operate via a concentration gradient. Now what does that mean? That means that when I start flooding the system with ascorbates, and I give more C to my system, that literally, if this is my cell, and this is what's called the interstitial space. This is between your cells, okay? And I've got ascorbates out here, the C, that literally the greater the concentration here will cause it to flow into the cell because it works via a concentration gradient. So if you were to talk to a biochemist, that would indirectly imply that there's a bodily mechanism that says, I want and need that, because as the gradient, the concentration increases external to the cell, the internal parts of the cell saying, I want to balance you, I will take what you have. I will take into the cell, and it basically equalizes. It operates via a concentration gradient. let's get into some of the applications, because I'm going to try to wrap this in about 10 minutes. This is an area that honestly, well, I don't have my folder. I have my folder over there, and it's about 2 inches thick. And without question, when I tell you that I could literally do this for 2 hours or so, I could do this for 2 hours or so. I mean, to tell you, there's stuff on C, there's humongous amounts of information on C. And I really haven't done any recent research on it. I haven't really done much lately to review the ascorbates. And because there's just so much. So let's just take a couple of minutes. And I just jotted down some real basic areas. Coronary heart disease. There are studies that show that folks with coronary heart disease, coronary artery disease, that literally you can reduce the amount of inflammation on the lining of the vessel. You can raise nitric oxide. I'll get to that again in a moment. You can literally help the pliability and the elasticity. And there's a literature piece that shows in postmenopausal women, if they go through menopause, as their hormones decline and drop, that one of the problems for women, excuse me, they will, first of all, they're at a higher risk. A woman that goes through menopause, whatever, let's just say 50 years of age, within that time frame of the next 5 to 7 years, maybe up to 10 years, her husband would, up until then, would have a much higher rate of the potential for heart disease than she would. But when she gets around menopause and her hormones have been dropping, her rate of coronary artery disease skyrockets and jumps past the guys. Literally, she's at a much higher risk because her hormones have dropped. And one of the issues is not only does she form more plaque and hardening of the artery, literally the artery wall themselves loses their elasticity. It's shown that women that they measured the carotids, that it improved by 26% the carotid elasticity, meaning its ability to open and close and move, by having women that are postmenopausal on vitamin C, the ascorbates. It documents that it lowers inflammation on the vascular wall and the vascular beds, let alone systemically. We know that it improves what I was just kind of talking about here, endothelial dysfunction. There are studies in diabetics, type 2 diabetics. We know that type 2 diabetics, first of all, have also a firming and a hardening of the artery wall. So don't tune me out if you're not a type 2 diabetic. Let me tell you why. Because if you love sugar, and even though you're not a diabetic, and even though you're not a type 2 diabetic, or just a diabetic type 1 or whatever, or type 1.5, all the different terminologies for it doesn't matter. If you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to be at a higher, even if you do it in blips of time. I'm good all day, and then, man, I just kind of go ballistic a couple times a week. If you eat a lot of sugar and boluses of sugar, the tendency for your artery walls to become firmer and harder dramatically goes up because of something called aged glycation end products. That means that there's proteins that link up with the sugar and cause this, and it causes a hardening of the artery walls. Diabetics are usually prone to this. If you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to be prone to this. What does the ascorbates help to do? It helps to reduce the amount of damage or this process on your vascular wall beds. It's documented in diabetics that they actually give them an IV of vitamin C, and they got high blood pressure and their artery walls are firm. Boom, their artery walls start to become more elastic. The nitric oxide goes up, their blood flows better, their pressure drops. Yeah, from ascorbates. So why not just be on it on a regular basis? Wait a minute, you just said that it was IV. You don't have to go for, an IV every day. Certainly IVs play a role, I believe, in cancer because you can achieve very high concentrations at a cellular level that it's shown to be cytotoxic. That's not my opinion. That was done actually at the Institutes of Health, National Institutes of Health right here in the States, led by, I believe, a Mark Levine in a study piece showing that in laboratory animals that when you used IV vitamin C, it raised hydrogen peroxide levels, H2O2, and become cytotoxic. What that means, having killing mechanisms to cancer cells. Now that's an IV. Now we're just talking about ABC day-to-day health here. Keep your ascorbate levels high because it'll do all the things that we talked about, all the processes that it's involved, hormones and detoxification, etc., collagen matrix. But now we're getting into some studies, and I just to remind myself, there's oodles. I can't bore you with this. In diabetics, you are critically dependent upon the ascorbates, not for your blood sugars. You should be doing other things for that, but to maintain the elasticity and the functional capacity. Your arteries need to be accommodating. When they lose and they become rigid and they lose their ability to accommodate, you have problems. Your blood pressure is going to go up. You're going to have a lot more dysfunction. I'm not even getting into what we call reducing free radical damage too. Because whether it's through chemicals or high blood sugars or a poor diet or chemicals in the foods, so you develop things called free radicals. These free radicals damage the lining of your walls, your artery walls. What does the ascorbates do? It helps to reduce that damage. All right? So, in coronary heart disease, it plays a huge role. It's been documented to improve carotid artery activity. Inflammation lowers it not only on the vascular wall bed. Study done, I believe, at UC Berkeley about 4 years ago, documented, I can't remember the percentage, they put folks on 3 grams a day of vitamin C, of buffered C, and it dropped their HSCRP, which is highly specific C-reactive protein, which is a marker of heart disease, by up to like 60%. When you say you didn't say cholesterol. I'm not talking about cholesterol here. Actually, there's some literature shows that you stay on high dose of C, you can actually lower your cholesterol too, but that's a whole nother, I don't want to make that claim. That's a whole nother subject. I got a lot of other subjects just Lord, I think we should just start taping these things and just let me gab and you can just leave the room. HSCRP, when it's high, listen to me. Take it to the bank. You're at a higher risk for heart disease. If that thing is up, even if you're C-reactive protein that's just generically all throughout the body, you're at a higher risk for disease, inflammation. Highly specifics is more to the cardiovascular, your circulatory system, higher rate of heart disease. I am exposed to things, boom, how do I negate that? You got to be on the ascorbates. Raising nitric oxide. There's been lots of discussions in the last couple years. Nitric oxide supplements. There's no such thing, first of all, okay? You can't take nitric oxide. If you take nitric oxide, it will literally just be broken down in your intestinal wall. You can't use it. You have no benefit from it. How can you raise nitric oxide? L-arginine. So guys that's suffering from erectile dysfunction, you need to be on Perfusia Plus, and you need to be on high doses of buffered C. Not at one time, but you need to take it in the morning. You need to take some at the end of the day. When you come home from work, you need to take some before you go to bed. Why? So that I start raising nitric oxide. I start reducing the amount of rigidity of the vessel walls. I start reducing the free radical damage. I start improving blood flow. You say, wait a minute. So that's like what I should be taking that for erectile dysfunction? Well, there are some other things that you can be doing, but just fundamentally, you do a ton of buffered C and you take Perfusia Plus for you gals and your husbands are having some difficulties. I'm going to tell you, and don't do this for 2 weeks and say, that Joe's full of beans, it didn't do anything. I'm talking about, you got to be doing this for months. This is not Viagra. This is not Cialis. Matter of fact, I talked about a couple of months ago, and then I just reiterated it probably in the past couple of weeks on the radio show that, do you know that those phospho-5-diesterase inhibitors, those PDEs, those medications that are used for erectile dysfunction, do you know that they're finding a significantly increased risk of melanoma and skin cancer? As a matter of fact, not that I would go by this, but just last night I saw a commercial watching the baseball game for some law firm saying, hey, have you been using erectile dysfunction medications and developed melanoma? Come and see us, obviously, because now they want to sue the manufacturers. I talked about that a couple of months ago. It's in the literature. Melanoma risk, skin cancer risk jumps dramatically for folks that are using these erectile dysfunction meds. So obviously some of you might need some help in this area, but why not be doing some things that does all the good things, all the processes, your brain, your dopamine levels, your circulation, your neurotransmitters, your collagen matrix, your skin, right? All of the, and I only hit, probably like 40%, 50% of what vitamin C does. So why not then, for guys that are having difficulties, be using the buffered C ascorbates plus Perfusia Plus? Why? Has a specific form of folic acid, a very absorbable, utilizable form, the methylene tetrahydrofolate that causes a relaxation of the vessel walls. L-arginine will help to raise nitric oxide. You've got a three-way punch, and you should be doing this over time to increase blood flow. So whether you've got heart disease, circulatory issues, or erectile dysfunction, literally, you can see why, literally, it was probably yesterday morning. What are we going to talk about? Josiah was here and Mary was here. What are we going to talk about tomorrow? I'm sitting here thinking like, well, I've done some little things on C, little 10-minute teachings, but I could talk about this for hours. Let's talk about ascorbates. Why? Because they are critically involved in human health and physiology. I hope you've got something from this today. I hope you've been blessed by it. We're going to close this chapter. So now we have another live stream that if you want, you have a family member that has some issues, heart disease or depression or schizophrenia or whatever, you need to think about having them. Do we want to talk? Is there any questions? All right, let's take them. I believe the one is, do we have another office, satellites? Yes, we're in Bridgeville, the South Hills of Pittsburgh, on Wednesdays, as appointments are necessary at Huey Chiropractic. Dr. Andy Huey, we use his office. Andy's a great guy. We've worked with him for years, so we use his office. I believe there's another question up here soon. My husband's 49, having a stress test done. With giving him buffered C, help with opening his blood vessels to assist in the detoxification of any contrast dyes they use to view the images. Actually, that's a great question. What I would say to you is, I would take you another level. I would have him do some N-acetylcysteine NAC 600. So we have it on our site, or you can call the off-air toll-free number, 888-865-9595. Ask for Terry, Amy. NAC, N-A-C, 2 of those twice a day, 20, 30 minutes before meals, dramatically raises glutathione, helps you to detoxify. We talked about that a while ago. But so do the buffered C ascorbates. This is why I often say, I said this on the radio show probably 15 years ago, that if I'm stranded on a desert island, like what nutrient, if I was given one, which one? People thought it would be probiotics, it would be omegas. Now, I'd take the buffered C ascorbates any day, hands down. Why? Well, I thought omegas were really good for you. They are the right forms. I thought vitamin D, you talk about that a lot, it's really critical. Yeah, we've been talking about it since 2004, before anyone even had it on the drawing board. We talked about it. But you cannot cover as many different areas as the ascorbates, vitamin C. Detoxification, glutathione, pathways, metals, chemicals, brain, right? You see why? Bone, connective tissue, structure, your skin health. Gosh, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a nutrient that is involved in so many different aspects of physiology, and actually even disease state. Even to testing. There's a perfect example. That was very astute. Just, can I use that? Yes, you can. Have him on plenty of the buffered C, 4 to 5 grams a day, not at one time. He's going to run to the bathroom, spread it out through the course of the day, maybe 2 grams in the morning, 2,000 milligrams early, later in the day, towards bed. He should be doing that for days before. He comes home from the testing 4 to 5 days after. Use the NAC starting 3 to 4 days before. The day of the test when you come home, a couple days after. Why? Why would you do that? Because kidney function has been shown, not in every single patient, but there are significant literature reports in the medical literature of up to 30% drop and decline in creatinine or creatinine clearance mechanisms, your kidney functioning, because of the dyes. Your body has to clear it. Your body has to break it down, and one of the most significant pathway for excretion is through the kidneys. They'll tell you to drink a lot of water. Well, you need to do that, but you need to get a lot more sophisticated than drinking a lot of water to excrete dyes. Those dyes are, and if you're a diabetic, I would make a statement. If you're a diabetic, I wouldn't do any form of contrast dye unless you use some proactive mechanisms to excrete it. What's magical about C and NAC? There's nothing magical. Raises those deglucarate pathways, raises glutathione, helps you to excrete. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. God bless you. Thanks for being with us. Next teaching, leaky gut syndrome. You say, I don't have that. Stay tuned. Just view it just like this. Just watch, listen. You'll learn a ton. I think you'll be blessed by it. Blessings to you. See you next time.